start anywhere in particular, or just want to ask questions? I
I'll
hope.
I'll jump into it because we're going live here. This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with another UFO related guest here today. 2 days in a row, we have an author from Into the Gray's Abyss. She's also an experiencer, and she's working on her third book, but she actually has two books already. K. Rose Golden from the Colorado Springs area. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Hannibal. Thanks so much for having me on.
No problem. You've been appearing on Linda Moulton Howe's podcast a few times, all over the place. So it's nice to finally get your story to my platform. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Great, great. Well, I'm glad to be here.
So let's get it started. I mean, it started with you when you were a kid, where you were having some experiences with, I guess, visitors that you could see that some people may have thought may have been your imaginary friend or something. Could you start us off like when you first started having unusual experiences?
Sure. So, how far back do you want me to go? Um, Basically, the first thing that I remember that was far out and creepy was being in the bedroom in our farmhouse in northern Illinois, and I was little, probably maybe 2 years old, and laying on a bed in one of the rooms. I don't think it was my room. I think my room was at the end of the hall, and it was pink, according to my sister. But the moonlight was coming in. I was supposed to be sleeping. The door was like opened a little bit because I never could go to sleep without the door open a little bit. So there was like light down the hallway, but there was moonlight, and I'm a little kid. I'm going to sleep. I got my blanket, and um, some little being thing was there, and was I could see the black eyes in the moonlight. The shape of the head was kind of, like a light bulb, basically, and that's how I describe it. Um, Big black eyes, and just a creepy hand coming towards me. And originally, I think I said I was in a crib, and it could have been a crib. I'm not positive of that. It might have just been somebody's bed that I was laid on to go to sleep. Um, but that was the first creepy thing that I remember. I'll backtrack a little bit. Um, when I was a baby, and this is a story from my brother Alan, who's much older than me. I'm the youngest out of nine kids, and the uh, the story goes that my father borrowed a friend's airplane so that he could take my brother and me, and I'm just a little 6-month-old baby. My mom, of course, I'm in her lap, and my aunt and uncle and a friend, to go down to Branson, Missouri, see the town, see some show or something, and go fishing, and then bring back a lot of fish. That was the plan. And I guess we made it down to Branson all right. I mean, being a young baby, I didn't remember anything except for a stage play where in Branson, where the stage caught fire and we all had to run out. That part I seem to remember. Um, but I don't remember the fish or anything like that. But I don't remember anything more than what my brother has told me, which was basically we all got back in the plane. We flew back to Illinois. We hit a really bad, scary thunderstorm, and you know how bad they can be in the Midwest. Um, and my dad had to bring the plane down because it was losing fuel. My brother said, because I asked him once I heard this from him later on when I was writing my book, I was like, "What happened?" And he told me. He said, "Well, there was lightning flashes." He said the sky was ugly. He goes, "It was a bad thunderstorm," and he said there were orange flashes. And when they were trying to get down, or Dad was trying to bring the plane down, and we hit something really hard, and it, according to my brother, it had torn the tail rudder off almost completely off this plane, and this was a borrowed airplane. um, but they made it down to the ground, and I asked him specifically because at this time I'm researching and I'm writing my book, and it was like, okay, did you have any missing time? Were you guys nauseous? Did you guys remember losing time? Anything, give me something. And he said it was so far back. I mean, this was 1967. I think June or July was the month when it happened. Um, but he said it was so far back he couldn't recall any missing time or anything like that. He just doesn't remember. But he does remember the thunderstorm and getting hit. We hit something. So further on, of course, I have that um, interesting view in the bedroom, being a little kid, that this thing is in there and the moonlight's showing this creepy hand. Dark, it's a dark hand to me. I'm a baby. But the eyes were shocking. And later on, I remember, yes, I saw, I don't know if I saw, but I felt things. So my mother had this little lighthouse made, probably about, well, I was little, so this thing was probably about 4.5 feet high. So I was smaller than the lighthouse. My mother's father, so my grandfather, and then I think an uncle and another grandfather made it for my mother for her, like her 30th birthday or something. Or I was born when she was 35, so maybe her right around their 34th birthday. Anyway, it sat out in the front, and we had a great big lawn there in northern Illinois, in front of a farmhouse. And I would take my little play tea set, 2.5, 3 years old. I had a little yellow and white with flowers, and a little plastic tea set. And I would take it down there, and I would have tea down there. And there were tulips around my mother had really pretty tulips around this lighthouse. And I was told I wasn't supposed to play there. So I was warned several times not to play there because my great grandparent, of course, grandparents made this. And my mom, of course, cherished it. But it was weird because I would look through this little window. There were those little windows in the lighthouse. I mean, it looked just like a real lighthouse. And I would see something in there that apparently nobody else felt or could see. They didn't understand. And that was just a friend to me, an invisible friend. And growing up, I thought everybody had one. And come to find out, not everybody does. So, but I would play there all the time. And I was warned again by my parents. And my mom would say, no, you can't play there. No, we're playing there, but I would always be found there. And then we lived before the farmhouse. I think we lived in Huntley, Illinois. And I think I got lost somewhere in there a couple of times. And they would find me in the town square. They would just, somehow I'd magically appear in the town square. So a couple of weird things. I guess I would run away, or not run away, but wander off. And I did that. As a high school student. I walked off in the middle of the night without telling my folks. I wasn't mad at them, or there was no arguments or anything like that, but I would just open the door, walk out of the house, and walk in San Jose, California for no reason at all. I mean, I'd be looking up at the stars. And relating to the stars, the high school that I went to, I was the vice president of our astronomical club, interestingly enough. And that is also how I met my husband, Charles. So a little bit of a star relation there, I guess. And I always felt like we were never alone on this planet. I've always known that. I don't know how, but I guess you just know. So I've never balked at that. But
Do you think the fire that you said that happened at the Playhouse had anything to do with the UAPs, or was that just a coincidence with the storm going on that night?
oh, I don't know. I was so little. I don't remember anything but the stage catching fire, watching everybody run, and us having to move. And I was picked up and carried out. But I don't know. I mean, it could have been anything. I mean, all kinds of weird stuff has happened.
And
So,
you've seen numerous different types of beings too. So, how would you describe the one that was the invisible friend? I guess, was it just invisible to you too? Was it just kind of a feeling you had that it was there, or was there some type of shape to it?
no, it was more of a feeling. And what was really weird is that continued on. Oh, God. That continued on into my elementary school years. I would be like in Wisconsin. I'm trying to remember. Well, it was El Paso first. But in Wisconsin, I would be riding my horse. I had nobody to ride with me. I mean, I had neighbors and they had horses, but they were older than me, so they wouldn't ride with me. But I would make like my invisible friend was riding the horse with me. But before that, and this is where it gets really, really weird. In El Paso, let me back up a little bit. So we moved from Northern Illinois when I was about 5 years old. And we moved to El Paso because my dad got a job with White Sands Missile Range as head honcho electrical engineer for the site. He had a badge. I don't remember much about it. Um, I know that it took a while to get to White Sands Missile Range from El Paso. I'm pretty sure it took a long time. But I remember my brother telling me that our father told him later on that they would do it in 20 minutes, and I don't know how that was possible. Even in 72 probably, 72, 73, something like that. But at the elementary school I went to, there was a girl. I mean, I had a couple of friends. I had a good friend. My brother went to this school too. He was three grades ahead of me. So this would have been third grade, I think, in El Paso. And I this girl who I thought was really cool. Her name was Dael, and Dael, I think. Don't remember her last name, but she would be there, and she would wear these interesting outfits. She always had these really bright white tennis shoes on, and a really cool red like jacket. But she would never be around my friend. She would never be around my best friend. She never managed to be around anywhere publicly. It was always like seeing her by the bike rack or outside the wall, the nurse's office at the end of the school, doors open, getting a note from your mom, going in the nurse's office saying, she's got to come home at such and such a time, or we're going to pick her up or whatever. And she would be there, but she was never in my classes. She never had books in her hands. It was really weird. And she was nice enough, but she wanted me, at one time, she wanted me to go roller skating to a roller rink with them. Her dad and her and some friends, and she said these friends were really interesting and that I would like them. And I told her, and I think she was wearing her skates to school. I think I saw her. She goes, no, my dad's going to pick us up. We'll go. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I have to let my parents know that, I'm going to ask them if I can go. And I just got a really strange feeling from her. So I never did go with her to the roller rink. It was very weird. But after a while, that kind of faded away. And I just, had my other friend and the appendicitis that she had, and I was really worried about her. I went to the hospital and with her mom. And then when I got back to school and she got back to school, I wanted Dale to come meet her, because I said, you're never around my friends. What is the deal? Come meet her. And she said, no, you're the only one that can see me. So that was kind of a shocker. I mean, you're a kid in school. You're doing what you're supposed to do, living that normal box life, maybe not religious and going to church all the time or anything like that with your parents. My parents didn't do that. They let us do our own thing. But I mean, still, you have your own line of sight as to how your day goes. And when something like that happens, it's very strange for a kid. That was very hard to relate to. So we move on. 2 years later, we end up in Wisconsin. Yes, we moved around a lot. I think I didn't spend more than 1 year in one school at all. So we get to Wisconsin, a small elementary school.
How many states, just to give us an idea? Because that sounded like 11 or so states from one of the other interviews I heard from you.
So let's see, Illinois, and several times in Illinois, Wisconsin, several times in Wisconsin. I've lived in Missouri, California, several times in California, different places. And then what else? Florida, Maryland. But wow. All the moves I've had,
It followed you around all those places.
I have no idea. I think so. The things that have happened have been, looking back on it, that everything adds up, which is really frightening. But anyway, so we're in Wisconsin. We're in a little brick, tiny school in the middle of south central Wisconsin, basically. And I'm in fourth grade or third grade. That was second grade. This is third grade. So there's two classrooms in this school, and the rest is basement. And we played down there when the weather was bad, as far as PE goes, physical education. And then the lunch area was right there. And it was the same situation. Well, she showed up, and just like, how is that possible? And in El Paso, when I had met her, she was telling me that her dad worked at White Sands Missile Range too, and was an electrical engineer. And I thought, how is that even possible? And I remember when my mom heard that, she told me, because they kind of kept picnics and stuff at White Sands. There were lots of picnics and stuff at people's houses, and I do remember one where a couple of astronauts were there. That was, I think, in Alamogordo. But my mother would say, none of these guys that your dad works with are even married. They don't have children. She can't possibly be going to your school. It doesn't make any sense. And we never talked about that again. But so Wisconsin, and she shows up. This is Dale, and it's the same thing all over again. And I didn't know what to do. She again wanted me to come out into the woods. We had woods back there behind the school. It was really pretty. Me and friends, little friends, kids, we'd go into the woods, just the very edge of the woods, and sit there and play, things, kid things, imaginary stuff, king, queen, that kind of stuff in the woods before school would start. But we were right there at the beginning of the woods. She wanted me to go into the back of the woods and meet people. I'm supposed to meet people with her. And that really freaked me out. And I ended up telling my mother about it. I said, Mom, this girl showed up again. How is this possible? And we didn't, I wasn't an adult, so I wasn't thinking about it the way an adult does. I was thinking about it as a kid going, this is really weird. How could she possibly be here in Wisconsin, Mom? And my mom would say, I don't know. It does sound really strange. And then she was alarmed because I told her she wanted me to go way out into the woods with her, and that we were going to meet her friends, and that I would like her friends. So I think that scared my mom a little bit. But yeah, so you've got the invisible friend thing. You've got the lighthouse thing, where I always constantly played with my tea set. And then I was horseback riding with an invisible friend. And then, of course, Dale shows up, who I don't think was a real Dale person.
Did the horse have any reaction to the invisible friend?
So, no, Sugar was really good. But here's something that happened in Wisconsin also. We had a barn, of course. I had an ex-barrel racer. Sugar Babe was her name. And it was winter, and it had stopped snowing, and there was not a whole lot of snow up there going up the hill. There's a cornfield, and then there's the hill, and down the other side are Christmas trees that we would pick from. But up the hill, which is where I wanted to go, was the wooded trail. And there's just beautiful trees in there, go through the fall or summer, spring, and then up at the top, there's a big clearing. So I was on Sugar, and here I am, 8 years old, and I'm going up the trail, and you can hear her crunch, 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 crunch through the snow, and she was enjoying it. She was having a good time. And then we got up to the top of the hill, and I wanted her to go left to go up that wooded trail. And I can't remember if I actually put this in the book or not. I think I put it in the original book, but I might have taken it out of volume 1 or volume 2. But I had to fight her. She saw it before I did. There's trees. There's poison sumac, which was dried up by then because it was winter. But you got the trail beginning, and it's not a big trail. It's just big enough for maybe 2 or 3 people to walk side by side on, and so you get a horse and a person on. And there's trees all the way going up this wooded trail. It was really pretty. But there was something on the tree, and I'm sure she saw it first. I only saw like a hand and sort of a face. And I was thinking, when I saw it, I was thinking, oh my God, there's somebody out here in our woods hunting, and they shouldn't be in our woods hunting, because my dad has told me, if you see anybody out there, you need to let us know. Because we had I can't remember how many, 100, 140 acres, something like that up there. And I tried to get her to go up the trail and she wouldn't go. She was so stubborn. And then she reared and then she spun and then she shot down the hill with me on her. I was holding on for dear life. Um, but I saw just the hand kind of wrapped around the trunk. And it's not a thick tree. That wasn't a thick, like, oak tree. It might have been like a birch or something, but you could see the hand and you could see the eyes and the head. It was like kind of hiding itself, but like I said, she sensed it or saw it before I did. And in that farm, just to give you a little history, was really old. When we got to Wisconsin, we were in a rental place in Sparta, Wisconsin. While we were building this place, we knocked down the old house. It was over 99 years old, I think is what my dad said. I was helping knock down walls too at 8 years old. And my brother, my only one brother who's 6 years older than me in the family, he and I have talked because he has had uh, ghost things happen, that type of stuff. And he's had things grab his foot in the middle of the night when he was little. And in his place in Kentucky, he's had ghost stuff happen there in the house that he was restoring, a really old colonial house. But he was telling me that there was a wall that we left there in the house. And I didn't know about it. Again, little kid, you don't know about this stuff. And he said he would come home from school and his books and his music papers would be all over the place. So there was he thinks there was some ghost or spirit living in the house with us. I had no idea. No, I didn't see my Tinker Toys or Lego, Lincoln Logs, didn't have Legos, flying all over the place at the time upstairs in our small play area. But yeah, that was very interesting. And he happened to be the brother that was down there at the barn when me and Sugar went zipping down the hill. And she went left and I went right. So she made it around to the barn and I fell off. And of course, he came over and said, "Hey, are you okay?" And he helped me up. Um, Things like that happen with horses, but they're very sensitive. So yeah, she saw it first, and then I saw it. That's the only thing that I saw in Wisconsin that I can consciously remember.
So when did things start to get more serious? When you started seeing beings that were more similar to these creatures that must be a little bit unsettling.
Very unsettling. Oh my God. So way into the future here. I guess it's very strange. I don't know. I'm learning and hoping that we get real facts and data someday soon. Um, but going into the future, 2017 September, we're in Diamond Bar in Southern California. We were living in Colorado. This is me and my husband. Our kids are grown and gone. And we've been in Colorado for a long time, but we had to move there for a job for him with one of the big aerospace companies. I won't tell names. And so it was Labor Day. We went out for, celebration, hamburgers, whatever, just to hang out together his last day before he had to start the new job the next morning, which was September 4th, 2017. And this is a rental house. We're in a nice rental house, big backyard. But it was that evening, he went to go to bed early because he knew he had to get up. He wanted to make a good impression, of course. And I didn't go to bed till like 11:30 at night. My big habit, and we had just moved into this house, not 2 weeks prior. We had just gotten our furniture set put in, like on the 28th of August. So we were fresh to that house. But anyway, the cats were downstairs. I made sure the cats were okay. They were sleeping in their blanket areas and shut my coffee pot off, shut the lights off, locked the doors, and everything was cool. And because my legs were hurting, and I do have a problem with my legs, we had the wood floor downstairs, and upstairs you have that laminate, and then going up the stairs is laminate. And I noticed I was hurting as I was going up the stairs. So I was thinking, okay, I will sleep in my office, which is the guest bedroom upstairs on the left, rather than going into the big master bedroom and sleeping with my husband. And I thought, I have to go in there though to get my nightgown stuff, get my face washed, and then I'll go out to the office and the guest bedroom, and I'll sleep in my bed in there. And I got ready for bed, and I guess I just wasn't thinking, and I got into the king size bed with my husband. Now he's snoring away. He's totally asleep. And I look at the clock, it's like 11:30. Okay. So I must have gone to sleep. And back then I kind of slept. It was hot. I don't like hot. I do not like hot at all and humid. And I was not getting used to it. Even with the air conditioning blasting, I still wasn't used to it. So I would sleep with on my back with my hands over the sheet and then just the light comforter, or maybe I don't think we had a blanket. Then with a light comforter on, and that was it. And I went to sleep. I had this weird dream. So it was me walking either in the woods, I think, and there's some mist or fog, and I see some beings that are hooded, cloaked, and there's like probably four of them, and they're surrounding this black pot kettle. There's steam coming off of it, and so they're obviously cooking something. So I'm curious, so I'm walking over to see what it is that's in the pot. And all of a sudden they turn and all these weird hands are reaching for me. So I'm screaming, no, 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 I don't want to be put in the pot, get it, because that's what I thought they were going to do to me. And then, of course, I wake up and I'm going, whoa, okay. So then I go back to sleep, I think, and then I wake up and everything's vibrating in the room. I'm vibrating. So to me, it feels like an earthquake. And there's this blue light in the room, and I don't know where it's coming from. That was so shocking. It's just a bluish white light just in the room, not coming from any source in the room that I could see, just there. And I'm thinking fire engines, police vehicles outside, and my heart's beating a little bit. I'm vibrating. I'm actually vibrating. This horrible vibration feeling was going through me, and it was hard, and it was at times it was very hard to breathe. It was very scary. And I ended up kind of cocking myself over on my left elbow to look towards the window. No, the light's not coming from there. I don't hear any sirens. We're in a 2-story house on a cul-de-sac, on the edge of the cul-de-sac. And if there had been, and I know we had, the window was closed. It's got wooden shutters. It's locked. There's heavy drapes on it, and there's a window seat there with pillows. Not that that's a big deal, but it was closed and locked with heavy drapes. No light was coming through there. And then we had in California, sometimes they have in these big master bedrooms, there's no doors for your bathroom. Not, I mean, the toilet area has a door, or your shower or toilet area has a door, but there was no door for where the sinks are. So there's double sinks, and you get those Hollywood mirrors, or not Hollywood, but the mirror and the Hollywood lights that go around. It's a great big rectangle mirror. And anyway, I'm laying there and I'm looking, going, okay, the light's not coming from there, and I'm looking under the master bedroom door to the hallway, and the light's not coming from there. And the light is also not casting any shadows. We had a big 4-post bed, and the ceiling fan, which I remember was on high because it's hot and humid and I'm uncomfortable. And I'm sitting there and I get kind of back on my back, and this light, it's very quick. This wasn't like something that took a long time. The way I'm describing it takes a long time, but that's different. This is probably just like seconds that this happens. So it's a bluish white light, and it starts shrinking down till basically it's right over me on the bed, not my husband Charles, but over me. It comes down the bed, it gets smaller and smaller, and it's right on me. And it's at this point where the vibration's kind of rocking the wind out of me, so I'm really having a hard time breathing. I'm almost choking, and I'm looking over, and my husband zonked, just totally zonked, and I can't. I'm finding that I can't really scream out and say, wake up, I can't even, elbow, nothing. So I'm laying there, and this blue light condenses down further and further till it's kind of like a beam on me, just a thin beam. And I see at the end of the bed, I felt it, I felt this touch on my foot down there at the end of the comforter. And I'm really going into panic mode. I mean, my heart is galloping in my chest, and it is unreal as I look down there, and what I see is just maybe 4 inches of this round head, and in this light, it's dark, but it's also pale. It's pale, but it's got this bluish gray look to it. Even in that light, it looked even creepier than that. And then you see the black cat-shaped, almond-shaped eyes. They look like they're big, huge sunglasses that go around the head. And so this thing that freaked me out. It's not a cat. It's something. And in my head, I'm going like, I can't breathe. And this is a thing down here. What the? And I'm thinking all kinds of bad things. And I'm going, dear God, don't let it be like this. Please don't let it be like this. Because I'm thinking I'm going to die. That's what I'm thinking. Nothing should be in your room at night when you're trying to be peaceful and in bed and asleep. Nothing should be in your room. I mean, unless you have a dog or cat. And we only had cats and they were downstairs. Anyway, so I'm freaking out. That thing's down there. And there's a hand reaching for my foot under the bed. It didn't just touch my foot. It was reaching. So it's there. And so I'm looking, this beam is going up and down me. I still can't breathe well. The vibration's still rocking through my body. I can't wake him up. I can't move my lips. I can't kick at what's down there. And this was terrifying. And out of my right eye, my peripheral vision, there's another head here and a hand coming towards me with some little 6-inch long metal pen-like thing. And I'm in full-blown panic mode because these things, and that's what I chose to call them, just are there. And I didn't have any real exposure to this stuff. I think I read as a kid in Wisconsin the Betty and Barney Hill abduction thing. And the only reason I read it, and I didn't even get through the whole thing, is because I was being rewarded a book for reading really well during the month. I always got the most stars. I was a big reader. I've always really been a big reader, well, up until now, because now I'm writing. But I digress. So thing one and thing two, right? Thing one and thing two. And that thing comes, the hand is coming, I describe it as like a spider. It is. They're 4 long fingers with long nails. They're dark, or claws. You can call them claws, I suppose. And they're coming towards me. And it's got this thing in its hand. It's right here. It's going to my eye. And my heart is just jumping out of my chest. And I'm having the horrible time trying to breathe and all of this. And that beam is going up and down me. It's not just on me. It's going up my chest and going down like it's examining me or sterilizing me or making me immobile for the next step. So then, and like I said, as I'm explaining this, it takes a while to explain, but this probably happened in a matter of seconds. So then I'm being floated up. The comforter's off of me. They've got me. And somewhere in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm being taken by these rays. And that's what popped into my head. And, as a kid, as you're growing up, you hear things. I probably read about Travis Walton once in a newspaper a long, long time ago. My dad probably passed me the Sunday morning funnies, and I looked and saw that article and read it. But I mean, I have no idea if he had that experience or not. But so grays popped into my head. So instead of calling them thing one and thing two, grays. And then I remember somewhere Zeta Gray. So that's kind of where it came. But as I've done my research, that has become very apparent to me. Anyway, so I'm being floated up above the bed. I'm not far from the ceiling fan that is on high, and I'm up. I'm facing up, and I'm trying to tell them, but I can't because it feels like my lips have been sewn shut. I can't scream. I can move my head. That I can do. I can move my head. I can look at them or look towards my husband. But I'm telling them basically, you're going to kill me. That ceiling fan is on high. You're going to shred me. And then I moved over. And I'm kind of looking down because I can move my head and I can see my husband down there, stone cold asleep, absolutely stone cold asleep, does not know what's going on. And in my head, I'm just screaming at him, Charles, wake up, please, God, get up, wake up, look at this, look at what's happening. Don't you see these things? And there's the 4-post bed, so the post is right there, and they were going to bonk my head into the post. I just knew it. And before that, though, I thought, okay, I'm thinking a long time ago, I had an out-of-body experience. This was in Apple Valley, California. Long story. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to look down there. I'm going to see my body, and I'll know this isn't an out-of-body experience. And here I am still having a hard time breathing, and I'm still getting that vibration failing, and I don't see me down there when I look. So that makes me panic even more. And I'm going over the going over my husband and about ready to hit the post head with my head. And I'm telling them, you're going to kill me. You're going to run my head right into that post because you can't think when this is happening. You can't logically think about what they're doing to you or how they're going to pass you through some solid object. But they did. They passed me through that. My head went through the post. And now we're going straight towards the window. And I had never heard of anything like this before. So I'm thinking, in my head, I'm thinking, put me on my feet,
Was there
take
any
me off the front
feeling to
door.
that when you were going through the post? Was it any like uncomfortable feeling, or what happened when you're
I
going
just
through that?
passed right through it like I wasn't anything. It was
Hmm.
very weird. Um, and the rest of my body, of course, is just going over the bed. And so, but they're taking me straight to that window, and I'm telling them, look, please, just put me on my feet, walk me out through the door like normal. But they don't do that. They do not do that. They take you, and they take you any way they want to, and they'll take you through the window, the wall, whatever. Anyway, so we're heading towards the window, and I'm saying it's locked, it's shuttered. You guys can't take me through that. That's solid glass. And of course, I'm not speaking this, I'm thinking it, but they don't have the ability to perceive what we're thinking. They're there to do a job, and that's take the human. But anyway, we get to the window, and I got close to I think I just passed out and zonked out. But we passed through it, and it felt like, and I hate to use this for a comparison, but it's like being broken down into nothing or into the smallest pieces you can possibly be to pass through something, and then you're reintegrated or somewhat reintegrated in the beam on the other side and going up. Um, yeah, it was an amber yellow light beam that took me up. They took me up to the craft. One was up here, one was down by my foot.
Now, I have heard from those beams that you feel weird in the heart when you're being sucked up by those. Did you feel anything like that?
Yes, and you can't move. So my one thought as we were going up, and I could see the bottom of the craft, it was blocking out the entire sky. It was huge. I mean, it wasn't huge like I guess people say the Phoenix Lights was like super huge, or the Vandenberg Square was super huge. But this was blocking out a good entire area of the sky in Los Angeles. Now we're talking Los Angeles here, where there's planes flying and there's lights and there's people and all kinds of stuff. And um, but you're going up, and I'm sitting here, and my last conscious thought before getting up there and that opening and the opening, and then finding myself on a table was the red tile roof, California, the fireproof roof, right? The last top edge was coming up, and I was going to reach out of the beam and grab it, and I was going to stay there on the roof until morning, until somebody saw me or rescued me or whatever. I didn't care. I was not going with them. That was my last real thought. You can't reach through the beam. You're totally immobilized in that beam. And you go up, and you've got these two Zeta Gray, half biological beings, as I find out later with all my research. And you're up there, and then all of a sudden you're totally blacked out, and then you wake up on a table, and a big tall being zips by you, comes by you, and you hear your name. At least in my case, I hear K, calm, most of the time. That's usually what happens. And then it's a jab in the back, or something else. It's happened so many times. But that was the jab in the back. And then it left and it came back, and I didn't really meet. That was the tall gray. And Linda Moulton and I talk about it, and I say that was a tall progenitor gray, about 7.5 feet tall, black eyes, inky black, creepy, soulless eyes, pale, but has a little bit of a blue tint to it, kind of ashy. No hair or anything. Has mottling on the back of its forehead or back of its skull. Big head though, less pointed chin than the Zeta Grays. Long arms, really long arms. Anyway,
So when you say poked in the back, what were you poked with?
That's what I would like to know. I don't know what it was that I was poked with. All I know is that um, for years later, I had problems with that area in my back, and I had that surgically removed. So it's a section by about 3 inches long that was taken out. And they were supposed to do a biopsy on it and let me know the results, like most people would get the results. And I went back to the clinic, and this is later after coming to Colorado and everything, coming back to Colorado. And I never got any information. I called the office several times, and they said, "Oh no, we sent you that by email. You should have that." And they kept cutting me off every time, because I told the doctor, I said, "Look," because I was wiser by the time I got this done. I'm thinking, okay, maybe they put something in me right there, but it was on my spine, and spinal column, I should say. And um, I asked, I said, "Look, if you find anything weird, just just let me know." I go, "You don't have to show it to me, but just let me know, please." And I never heard a word from them. And I've called several times and nothing. And this was just a dermatologist clinic in Northeast Colorado.
And I've heard you say you think that you've been kind of, I don't know about branded, but you might have something inside of you that you believe they could be monitoring you with. Where would that be located?
I think it's in my head. I think it's behind my right eye, actually, on the optic nerve. That's what I thought, because in Diamond Bar, after that initial abduction, um, I went to lens crafters for eye exam and everything, right? And I think during that summer, and the doc looked at me, he looked at my eyes, and he looks at me, he goes, "Have you been looking into the sun?" And I went, "No, I have not." I mean, I said, "I'm outside with horses and, doing my thing, and it's bright here in California." And he goes, "Well, you've got a burn on your optic nerve right back there behind your eye." And I went, "Oh, what would cause that?" And he said, "If you looked into a really, really bright light." And, when I was writing the book, and I kind of put that in there, I was thinking about it going, oh my God. I remember one or two instances where there was a really bright light. I mean, it didn't seem bright enough to blind me or anything on the craft, but it was bright enough to be uncomfortable. And maybe that's when they did that, or it was that pen thing that they used, and they popped something in there. I've had a what do you call it? A wall
Brain
stent pirate.
scan?
Oh, terrified. Yeah, very terrified. Um, every time. This has not been a wonderful, peaceful, loving kumbaya experience. This has been very serious, very frightening every single time. And if
So
it
Stephen
continues,
Greer, you don't agree with him, who says that it would be, he believes that if this would be really frightening, that this would be humans doing something like this as a fake alien invasion, because he doesn't believe aliens would actually do something like this. What are your thoughts on that?
here's my thoughts on that. With all the research I've done and the position that I'm being uh, put in now as director of this new organization to investigate seriously alien human abductions, and this will be a nationwide organization. We're starting it basically Colorado and a couple of other states in the next couple of weeks, and I am the director. But there are more than one or two alien species. There are a lot of them. Linda Moulton Howe and I talk about this all the time. There are at least 4 to 5 different species of gray aliens. This is no joke. You've got the Roswell Rigelian grays with the noses and the Oriental look ones. You've got the Zeta grays that I've talked about that are the half biological that they found, I believe, in the Roswell crash. And there were 2 crashes at Roswell, not one. And then you've got the Zeta grays that are on the mothership that are real, that are not half biological, and they're a little bit taller. And then you've got the tall grays, male, and I think female. And then you've got the hybrid grays, and you've got the baby hybrid grays. And it's a lot to take. And so, no, I disagree with Dr. Greer.
So you don't think there's any way that could be human where he would, because you'd have to have midgets and giants, because you're saying some of them are over 7 feet tall or some type of stilts
Right.
to
Either that
fake
or
something like that.
they have to put some kind of major drugs in your body and hypnotize you and all of that. And I thought about that and I'm thinking, how much money would that take? When I know where our deficit is in the trillions and all of that, but and then you've got the black budget and you've got the back engineering of all the UFOs, and they've admitted it. You've got whistleblowers coming out left and right. And yes, that happens too. The hybridization program is very real.
Oh,
I'm
really?
not,
Okay. Well, maybe you could answer this because that's actually come up a couple times today.
yeah,
Do aliens actually do it with women if someone can't actually read what's on the screen?
yes, they do. Now, whether that's actually happened to me, I couldn't tell you, and I would not want to admit it. But I do know that I've been there on the table, and then I've had the manted being right there in the tall gray putting his hand over my abdomen. This is the illustration on volume 2 that Amazon doesn't like. And that's why they blocked my book for volume 2. But he's got his hand, yeah, there you go. His hand is over me to take the pain away from whatever. And the manted being is actually down at the other end of the table, but we didn't do it that way in the illustration.
Yeah, that doesn't look like the sexiest
No,
situation for a female, and I don't mean to joke about that, but that
no,
looks terrifying.
no. And then you've got the vats or the containers in the back that have the limbs and whatever else is in there. This was extraordinarily creepy. This was not where I saw the hybrid baby. This was something else. But the table that I was on and this room that I was in is where they did that checking for pregnancy, if you would. Like I said, this hasn't been pleasant, and it's hard. It is very hard to talk about it. I don't even read other people's experiences. I don't read their books. I mean, I've tried, and I just sit there and go, "Oh my God, I can't do this." I'm trying to keep my own mind clean and free of anybody else's stuff. Now, here I am going to be the director of this new group, and I'm going to be looking at abductions in writing and putting data into a specialized database for this so we can get some real answers. There are so many species out there, but these grays, these ones that take me, these are not benevolent creatures. You can't tell me somebody's benevolent when they're coming into your bedroom at night and taking you and experimenting with you and using you. Yes, very frightening.
And someone was asking, I mean, they're not doing that for pleasure. They're doing that for scientific reasons. You would imagine, I mean, you're not awake for it, but there's what do you think the purpose of the hybridization program is?
The progenitor gray, the tall gray, Rex, in my accounts, he has inferred to me that he is eons old, and this is through thought transference, not actual telepathy. Telepathy is reading the other person's mind or the other being's mind. Thought transference is having a thought put into your head, whether it's picture or words or symbols. That is thought transference, and that is what's been happening with me in this tall gray that's been in the background for so long now. Basically, eons old, helped create the English language. This is not our planet, and I am theirs. Quite point blank was put into my head.
Well, that makes sense. Some people say that for the hybridization, it's like they want to kind of populate the planet without us really having our guard up, and then suddenly there's hybrids everywhere and we haven't even realized it. And other people say that they're actually using these hybrids as almost like slaves on their own planets. There's
Well,
a lot of weird stuff.
there's a lot. They've got the stories of cloned beings in the Dulce base in the border of Colorado and New Mexico. And yes, everything I have been led to believe, everything that I do believe is that this is infiltration, and there are hybrids living on Earth already. I've already held a baby hybrid. I've already had contact with a smaller one and an even bigger one, 8-year-old girl, and I've been taken over Peterson Space Force Base, the main gate, and I know this because we lived at Peterson Air Force Base when it was still an Air Force Base back in 1994, 95, 96. So I know that base really well. And this hybrid gray took me, and we walked, skipped over, flew over, went over, and there was nobody there. And it was the most bizarre. Well, everything's been bizarre, but walking up to military Air Force guys who have AR-15s at their sides, and they're in their blue camouflage, and they're standing in front of the entrance to NORAD. There's 8 of them, and they're standing shoulder to shoulder, and there's no look on their face. I walk up, she's with me, and she's telling me this isn't what we're here for. And I'm waving at them, going, hi, hello. And there's no expression, there's no reply from these guys. And it's like the base was vacant. And maybe this was something that was going to happen in the future or something. I don't know. But yes, I believe it's infiltration without a doubt in my mind. You can't tell me these things are benevolent, as I said before, and coming to take people out of their bedrooms or their cars or on the road. And that's happened too.
Someone's asking, would a gun work on them? And I seem to hear you have a dog. What happens to the dog if they enter? Are they frozen
No,
or?
no dog. Cats. We had
Oh,
cats.
they're
Now
cats.
I
Okay, big cats, it
only have
sounds
a
like.
horse. The cats, we had one cat that was, I watched him a lot, especially when my husband would go to bed. He would be up on top of the couch looking behind me, like if down in Diamond Bar after the first encounter, he'd be looking, and his eyes would be, how cats are. They get kind of big and they're like stiff. And that happened a few times. So I was kind of relied on him. But the thing with me is when something's going to happen, and this can be something as simple as a craft over the property, I get a short, high pitched tone in my right ear, maybe 3 seconds long, maybe 4. And I know to either grab my iPhone and go out and try to take some photos. And I have several of them of strange things over the property, and not just here, but at our other place in Colorado too. And if that doesn't happen, then usually it's that night or the next night it'll happen again. And if I don't pay attention to it, I get taken. So that's like my little warning that it's going to happen. And then when it happens now, it isn't going up into a beam. It's a vibration that hits the head, comes through the body, and then you're gone. And then I'm gone. And then I'm up on the craft. Everything is just like it was the last time. Wedge-shaped, pie-shaped room, the bed that I have to lay on or sit on, and then the commands that come from the tall gray, K, calm, this is necessary. It doesn't explain why it's necessary. It doesn't explain what they're going to do to me. I've had so many abductions, and I've been experimented on and used for that hybridization program, and this is not a good thing.
Yes, I can tell you've been very disturbed by it. Does the book is it therapeutic to you to write these books, or does it bring back trauma? So, like, is it worth it to do these books for you? I can see you're very upset, for instance, talking about this.
When we got to Colorado, after the 18 months we spent down there, it was shocking to find out that in March of 2019, I got taken right out of my office by 5 of them, 5 of the small Zeta Grays, through my back closet, through the cement wall, up and out into a small craft. And then they took me out, way out into space. I don't understand why they had to go that far. But then the K calm came into my head from the tall gray, who was not on this craft. This was a smaller craft, really small seats. And there was a little room where I had to go to at this one point where it felt like the craft just stopped in space. And I had to sit at this area where there was this transparent screen with some bluish purple glyphs or whatever on the side. I don't even remember what exactly they were. And I had to watch these scenes of beautiful, like rocks and mountain waterfall, gorgeous flowers down at the bottom. And then all of a sudden it was gone, devastated in a fire. I got to see dinosaurs, eating these great big trees, these beautiful leaves, really lush rainforest, if you would. And then that's gone. Everything's falling into hell, basically. everything's chaos. And so many, many depictions of Hitler and a tall, looked like a Nordic being talking in front of a broken down rubble like building on a hillside, but Germany, I'm thinking Germany, and they were discussing something I couldn't hear, but they were right there, kind of, and it was in a Nazi uniform. So that, and then other things. And by the time I was done looking at all of it, I just, no more, no more. I don't want to look anymore. And then they brought me back. And that was scary because I couldn't breathe on the craft. They had to put something over my head, and it wasn't a helmet. It was some sort of mesh, really light looking thing that they put over so I could breathe because I was choking. I wasn't able to um, move or speak or breathe well, and I was falling to the floor. And I told them, I'm going to die. You need to take me back home. I for some reason, this atmosphere, whatever this was, or different universe or different dimension, whatever you want to call it, I couldn't breathe. And they had to put that thing over me. And then I was able to breathe, and I was able to look at the planets and the stars and the everything that was going on. And some of that was beautiful. There were arms, swirling arms of dust and rocks, and really pretty. I mean, but then they brought me back. And here's the weird part. So that morning, our son and his pregnant wife were visiting us. And this was in Northeast Colorado, in our other house in Castle Rock, Colorado. And we were supposed to go out to breakfast or lunch. And all I remember is I hear pounding on the door, like he was trying to break down the door. And I'm finally awake, and he's going, Mom, it's like 11 a.m. And I thought, oh my God, but I was so physically exhausted from that. I slept until 11 a.m. And no, we didn't go out. I didn't want to. That was the morning that I went to our master bedroom, and I sat in our recliner, and my husband came in and was going, what's going on with you? And I told him, and I think this is actually in the book, I thought they couldn't get me again. And I'm sure he was thinking, oh my God, she's involved with the mafia or something like that. And I said, no, they, meaning what I told him in Diamond Bar when that happened. The morning that he left for his new job, I told him what I just experienced. And he told me I had a nightmare. It was an intense nightmare. And, I love you, goodbye, walk out the door. So I hadn't told him anything since. So I tried to tell him this morning. And I told him, and of course, our son and his wife went out. We didn't go out. But you could see it shocked him. It really shocked him. He was listening, and it really shocked him. And I ended up going outside and sitting at the table for a long time by myself. And then he finally came out and he said, maybe there is these beings. I just don't know if I'm able to accept it. And that's the problem. That's the problem. They use this against us. They tell us we're crazy because somebody has an experience like this or several experiences, and they tell you you're crazy. And I actually thought he was going to call the people and have them take me away, people with the white coats that morning. And he didn't, of course.
Right. So they only visit when he's not in the house? Because that was a question someone had. Where's your husband when this is going on?
He's usually asleep, totally asleep. Now, I've had strange things happen. Well, if you watched the Linda Moulton House show back in August of last year, 2024, I think it was 16th of August, that was the Orbs show. Lou Elizondo's book had just come out, and she wanted to talk about the orbs. Our show was supposed to be about the recurring dreams that I have had and the ships and the war above our head, but we didn't do that one. So the orbs I saw with my father in Missouri. Now, my dad is gone. My mom is gone. All my brothers and sisters are older than me. And so none of them have had these experiences except for my one brother that has had the ghostly encounters. But my dad and I had that experience on their farm in Ava, Missouri, with the orbs right in our faces. And the one orb was right in front of him. He had a shotgun with one shell in it. And it dropped to the ground. He was very scared, didn't know what to think. These things are going up, down, back, forth, and coming back in front of us. And the yellow, and then orange, yellow, red. And the one in front of me turned red and went around me a couple of times. And my dad is just like almost paralyzed, telling me, just stand still. Don't move. And that was, and I don't know if they were looking for something or if they were just playing with us or what, but I didn't like it. And we both went back to the house, and we thought these were hoodlums. When we saw the lights from the window, we thought somebody was at the end of the property near the deer clearing lighting fires or smoking or doing something. And that's when my dad took the gun, and I went with him because, well, he's older and I didn't want him to get hurt in case these hoodlums turned on him. And that's what happened. And we get back to the house, and he takes his bottle of Southern Comfort and a shot glass, or a rocks glass, puts a little ice in it, pours the whole thing full of Southern Comfort, and drinks it all in one gulp. And I'm sitting there with a little glass of water, and he offered me a drink, and I'm like, no. And we never spoke of it again. It's just the government, the covert powers that be, want us fighting amongst ourselves about this. I don't understand what is so terrible. I mean, the abductions are terrible. This is the dark side of the whole UFO subject. But if there is something darker, I can't imagine what it is. I just can't.
Well, it seems like a lot of the experts and even the very credible ones think that the reason why all the countries around the world don't talk about it is because they have told the governments that they don't want to be spoken of, because something to do with the control that they have over us. It wouldn't work the same if we knew about them. Right. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense. How can all the countries don't agree on everything, but none of them are going to talk about this publicly?
No. And I know there's countries out there who want to be able to speak openly about this. Australia probably is one of them. I'm actually going to be talking to a documentary film producer this next week about my experiences. And she found me somehow. But she was saying people need to know this. And I'm like, well, yes, I agree. And you asked me about writing the book and if it helped me. And it was imperative. When I first started writing that book, and like I said, Linda Moulton Howe, kind of, if she hadn't answered the phone that day and I had not been able to talk to her about what was happening with me, I probably would have been in a mental hospital. It was very fortunate that she answered the phone that day, and that I got to talk to her openly and honestly about this. And we have had conversations since then, openly and honestly, about all of this. She's been really a really good friend, actually. But if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have even started the book. I mean, I had all my drawings, I had all my notes, I had everything. I had really bad illustrations in the beginning. The illustrator for the book publisher, they kind of refined things a little bit for me. The photographs in the book in volume with the doctor's photographs, the triangle, they're blurry, but they're on there. I have the one photograph from northeastern Colorado where it was a thunderstorm, and you can see the thunderstorm clouds, and you can see 10 objects. But because the pages are small, the photograph can't be made enlarged enough to see all of those objects, I think. So it's not great to put in a book, but I have those pictures, and then I enlarged it. And there's a top hat looking UFO at the very top, but there's 10 objects in the picture. And this is not uncommon. I've seen swarms at the ranch where I had boarded my horse out there in Castle Rock. I've seen things over this property that just, the last one, I sent the picture to Linda Moulton Howe. I'm like, whoa, look at this. And there's another thing. People get upset because people are not finding clear videos and clear photos of UFOs. Well, if you think about it, you've got an object that's able to zip from A to B to C. It's got a gravitational force. There's anti-gravity going on. It's like a force field around the craft. And it's morphing the way, again, our perceptions are different, all of us. And I've written about that, and I think I wrote about that in volume 1. But because our perceptions are different, because we can only see so much, when we're seeing something like that, and again, everybody's different, you're seeing a blurry image because it's kind of cloaked. And maybe the best way to see these things is at night with infrared. I don't have that. I mean, I end up going out with my iPhone 15, and getting a photo or getting a video. And I've had like I said, some really interesting stuff. And I've seen swarms, bright objects. I've sent them into SEPI in Great Britain. A friend of mine at David Johns, and he's looked at my stuff. And I've had the tones. That was Castle Rock also. So there's been some really weird stuff besides that. But anyway, I digress. So I had to write the book. It was becoming imperative after everything that was happening. it just, and it did help the first book. And then I was like, I don't like this. I've got to redo this. I'm going to make it into volume one, volume two. I got a whole new publishing company to work with me, better illustrations, and they listened, and everything's a lot better. And I have a third book that'll be out by July. I'm not going to tell you the title of it yet, but it's going to go deeper.
There's a few people asking on here, how could you spot a hybrid? Would there be a way that they would look a bit different or something that we'd be able to identify them?
They're so, looking at the ones that I've seen, because of the situations I was in, these experiences, I didn't see eyelashes or eyebrows on the little girl. I didn't see, and this is a tiny little thing, any eyelashes or eyebrows on the baby thing. But they were clearly got that bluish tinge to their skin. So, and the eyes are further apart, big. Both of them had these big blue sapphire eyes, but I mean, striking, definitely. But I mean, the eyes are set further apart. So I suppose if there's anything you're looking for is some kind of weirdness with the eyes, maybe, oh, I don't want people freaking out and going and jumping on people saying, oh my God, you're a hybrid. That would be horrible. The ears were really small. So, I mean, other than that, they're passing for human. And Linda says they're everybody. They could be your next door neighbor. I don't doubt it. I really don't doubt it.
And the last question here, I know you're not expecting these incidents to happen, and it seems to take control of some parts of your body, so it's hard to get evidence. But someone is asking, what is the very best evidence that you have regarding these situations?
The marks on my body. So after the Diamond Bar encounter, I got one scoop mark on my arm. I can never get it to the camera so I can show people. The pictures are in the book. So there's 3 triangle marks now here, scoop marks on my arm.
I think you have to lift it a little higher because
Yeah.
you're Linda
Hold on.
Golden or your
Hold on.
Rose
I'll see if
Golden
I can
is.
get it up there.
There you go. Okay.
See if you guys can see it. Oh, God.
Yeah, there's some white discolorations.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the area. Well, actually, it is. Yeah. So there's 3 triangles there. And in the book, it actually ends up looking like an X in the photograph. And then I had the intersection, my back, whatever was removed back there. This will blow you away. So the last contact with the tall gray was 2 months ago, maybe 2.5 months ago now, was being taken. And I actually put a little video on Facebook. I had no makeup on or anything. I had just gotten about being sideways on the bed and telling people, I'm going to tell you this, and this is what's happening, and I will try to get a better video out with my makeup on. No, I have not met Bob Lazar. I would love to, but no, I've never met him. Anyway, I explained that this encounter, I was taken up to the tall, he has his own crap. This is the tall progenitor gray that I call Rex because he has a strange name, and I just shortened it to Rex. I was standing in the wedge-shaped room. I'm pretty sure it was a wedge-shaped room. And there was this, he was there. He's 7.5 feet tall, so he's tall. I'm 5'9". And there's this clear screen that kind of comes out of nowhere. And he's doing something with his middle finger. I think he has four fingers, long arms, like way long. And he's doing something. And my mouth is hanging open. And I'm just standing there immobile, but my mouth is hanging open and drooling. And I'm trying to do thought transference. I'm trying to say, okay, because this is when the the East Coast was getting hit with drones left and right. Things were crazy. So this was like last year, 2024, November, somewhere in there. And I'm asking, trying to get this into his head. What are these things? Can you please tell me something? What are these things? And all I got from him was more and bigger ships are coming. And he was doing something. And when he did this thing on the screen, I had this flash in my head, like an explosion. And I don't know if he did something to tweak the whatever's in there, implant, if you want to go that far to say that. But that's what happened. And it blew me away. And the fact that he said more and bigger ships are coming when all I was asking about was, what are those? And this was well before the whole this last year with three eye Atlas, well before this. But it's happened that he has given me that particular message 3 times now. So I don't know what to make of it. I know that kind of goes in line with my recurring dreams and what happens in them. But yeah, it's been scary. It's been scary.
Well, at least the Three Eye Atlas is past Earth now, and it looks like it's on its way to Jupiter. But who knows if any scout crafts were dropped from it or anything? It's hard
That's
to say.
that's true. So
The
we'll know March 16th of 2026, I guess, about if it stops right by Jupiter, we'll all know, hey, this thing shouldn't be stopping.
Yeah, exactly. And the only other thing I wanted to ask you was you're showing pictures of the greys and the mantises together. Is that common for the different races to work together on these abductions? And the other thing is someone was questioning how could you have seen the outside of the craft if you were inside, which I'm sure you have an answer to. Yeah, someone was listening to what you
Oh,
said.
yeah. Well, I've been told I'm not supposed to take pictures, but I do it anyway. So yes, I've seen the craft from the outside above my roof in Brighton, Colorado. At least I'm pretty sure that is the craft. And then I've seen other ones back in Castle Rock and stuff. I have seen the outsides. Didn't have my phone to take the pictures. I've seen crafts come together too, bang together, or you think they're going to have a big explosion and debris is going to fall all over you. And there's nothing but a glow. And then all of a sudden you get 3 of them. And that was also Brighton, Colorado. That was like a year later. But the blizzard and the craft over the house, I'm pretty sure that was Rex. This is about a 30-foot craft around, so not huge, at least on the outside. But when you get in the craft, it is different. It is like you don't think a quarter could be 25 feet long in a craft, and it's long, and you're walking with this little Zeta Gray. It's sort of like the inside of the craft is distorted, and maybe that's where the whole time distortion thing comes from. Because when I was returned, like in Diamond Bar, well, every time I've been returned, it's usually about an hour. When Diamond Bar was 2 hours later, 2.5 hours later. I mean, 11:30, and then woke up on that bed about 2:35 or 2:40 in the morning when I jumped out and went down and made the coffee and opened the wings of the patio doors and sat outside and breathed in my horse's senior so I could get myself grounded and then start asking myself questions at that table in the cold winter night that night. But there's a distortion definitely in these crafts, and I've heard this now from, I believe, Danny Sheehan, who's the attorney. He works with the Disclosure Project with Stephen Bassett and several other people. And
Curly haired guy
yeah,
that people
white,
probably
yeah,
remember.
yeah,
Yeah.
really, probably a great guy. And he has stuck with this for so long. But I think he had a story where he was saying there was a man who went into one of these, and he was dizzy and struck by how large it was inside. It was like, he said, it was like huge, like a football field inside. It really blew him away, um, physically and mentally. So when he came out, it was really bad. But my experience has been, with the I'm calling it a sanitization process with the blue light or the immobilization and the things that they do to you. It's like before I could see the hybrid baby, I had to be put on a table and there were several other people in this huge room on tables, humans. But I had to be inoculated with something. It looked like that machine that was on me, punched 5 holes in my arm over here, needles, before I could go into the nursery area on the big ship and see the hybrid baby. I was forced to hold it, and I didn't want to. I was completely repelled by it. Um, anyway, yeah, it's been a roller coaster of a ride.
Well, you got your first book is on Amazon. The link is right there. And the second one with the cover that it's not too controversial for YouTube. So we can put it on YouTube, but Amazon didn't like it. So you can get it on Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's your
you get them Barnes and Noble.
first cover, right?
Right. The first cover has the
There you
airplane
go.
for the saucer. That's the original Into the Gray's Abyss, and that was published in October of 2024. And then the new books are Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 1 is Unbelievable If Not Experienced, and Volume 2 is The Abductions Continue.
And your website is down right now, but
Yeah.
it's going to be up again soon if people
Yeah.
want to write it down. This is going to be up forever, so someone might watch this a year from now. So where could they find your website?
So my website is K, just the initial K, rosegolden.org. And yes, it's down right now. Hopefully it will be fixed soon. And you can get my books on there too. And you can get signed copies, actual signed copies that I will send to you. And there's Stripe on there, so you can pay through Stripe. So that is set up as soon as it's fixed.
Very good. Well, I appreciate it. That was extremely interesting, and I'll let you close this up with whatever you want to tell the fans. And fans, please give this a like and check out her website.
Well, again, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And hey, everybody, it's not a phenomenon, it's a situation.